Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another Insane Productivity with Mortgage Coach Mastermind. Todd and I have been doing this. I think this is the 13th Friday. Todd Bookspan, what's up, my man?
Super excited this week, so happy for this call and get ready to launch us into the weekend.
Yeah, so as everybody knows, we talked about it last week. Todd and I signed on to do this for 4 weeks when we first rolled out this program. We were having so much participation, and we felt like there was so much value just because of the collaboration. We signed on to do it for 12 weeks. Last week was the 12th week, but we just want to keep going. Now, we're not committing to do this indefinitely, but as long as we think we're delivering impact and we're also collaborating as mortgage professionals to get better around Darren's concepts, the strategies, and insane productivity, Todd and I will keep doing this. We also have other leaders that are joining us on this, so we'll bring those leaders in and out of the call as we go. To kick off today's call, I want to remind everybody one of the goals this week, what's that? Something from Bill Hart just popped up. Looks like Bill's having too much fun. But anyways, by the way, can you confirm you can see my screen, Todd?
Yes, sir, I can see it.
Okay. So one of the goals today is to dial in and fine-tune a one-page reminder document that pulls key concepts and strategies out of Insane Productivity that are extremely valuable to you as a mortgage coach professional. So the goal is to get this to less than 12 reminders. So one of the things Todd and I are going to be calling out during the call, whether you've raised your hand or not, we're going to be calling out and saying, hey, what are the 2 to 3 most important strategies that you need to remember and you need to nail, for weeks, for years to come to get the maximum value from this. So that is a core strategy and idea. We do want to recognize Jim and other folks that are forwarding us emails and collaborating. Jim, I don't know if you're on this call yet. I'll check it out in a minute. But if you're not and you're listening to the recording, great job on doing this homework assignment, getting clear on what makes you happy, getting clear on what success is to you, and then sharing that in a way that's public. For all of you guys on the call, best way to get value is to give value. So that means sharing, and that also means letting Jim know what you think of his thoughts. Shout out to Brittany. Brittany from Darren's team came into the call, and I know we're going to get to this. I'll let Todd do that. Also want to remind everybody, I do record these calls, so they start with recording. If you'll notice, I did that strategically. We did that for a reason, because you could go to the search bar, type in recording, and have all of the recordings in order. So just a reminder, this call will be recorded, and it will be something that you can search and access as we go. And if you jumped into this mastermind midweek or kind of midstream, you can get to all of them. I've labeled them very clearly around it's a recording and what week it was. So Todd, let's hand it off to you, and let's get rolling, my man.
I'm super excited again for today. I really love this concept of this one-page weekly reminder sheet. I think it's really critical. I mean, the challenge as someone who went through Insane Productivity for the first time 2 years ago, and hearing other people on this call who've gone through it before, and you fall away from it. So I think having a one-pager will be great. I posted into our Facebook group at Dave's request my Insane Productivity wall, which is what I currently have in my office. It's all those gigantic Post-it notes of all of my notes from each session. So don't laugh, my writing is terrible. That's why I can't wait to have it all into one sheet. That'll be much better. Hey, I wouldn't mind, Dave, since it's unless you don't think it's appropriate, but this is a group of great mortgage folks on the call. I know that you just spent a number of days back in Boston at the MBA. Any highlights that would be worth sharing with the group before we jump in on Insane Productivity?
Yeah, no, I will. Although before I do that, I just want to recognize what you put here. And folks, this is what execution looks like. I mean, this is the first time I've seen this picture, Todd. You've referenced it a number of times in calls, and I don't know what I expected to see, but it's a deeper level of thinking, a deeper level of documentation. And I've known you for a long time, more than a decade. I don't even know how many years it's been, that many. And something that's always struck me is to distinguish you among other professionals in our space is what a great executor and operator you are. And I guess just looking at this, we know why now. You really listen carefully, you document things, and then you post them so that you remember them. I think it's pretty cool.
Well,
I'm going to study this later on.
It's probably like 10 feet wide by 7 feet tall, so it's kind of funny in real life.
Yeah, well, this guys, this is what being an operator looks like. So part of what makes these calls great is that we learn from each other. So post questions, raise hands. I'm going to try to keep it to a minute. The MBA was awesome. It was one of the best. I've been to over 5. This was my favorite. Folks that have been to 20 said it was their best. So there's no doubt it's a good time in the mortgage space. Couple takeaways. I would say the 3 themes that I heard over and over and over was product. We do expect some loosening guidelines, do expect more innovations in non-conforming loans, and I think it's a good year for product. The biggest thing of all, and I'm not just saying this because I'm a tech nerd, it was technology, technology, technology. Even Cordray from the CFPB made a comment that when we come in, we look at the quality of the technology to execute consistent experiences. So technology, technology, technology. And then it was the first time we've ever had the chair of the MBA, be a Latino. So diversity was discussed, and within the context of diversity, millennials were put in there. So it wasn't just the Hispanic opportunity and all the different America is colorblind, and there are tremendous opportunities in serving different marketplaces, but diversity within our workforce and really building our businesses so that millennials love your company. So technology, technology. My last thought is, my favorite session personally, this was actually the title, Will Loan Officers Become Obsolete? And the answer was yes, many will be, but the loan officer of tomorrow who makes it easy to communicate and do business leveraging video, mobile, digital, and social will not be obsolete. They'll crush it. So that might have been more than a minute, Todd, but there's a minute of a debrief from the MBA this year.
Well, you know what I love about that? I love it that it's making it easy to do business. And that's kind of what Insane Productivity is about, right? Let's simplify things and let's not overthink things. Let's eliminate. So I guess that's probably right in line with what we've got going on. And so I would love to see some of you folks, if you've got takeaways, discussion topics, or anything else, to start raising your hands. I really do want to start off with Britt's questions from Darren, and would love to talk about what has your biggest takeaway been so far, and what is one strategy that you're still struggling with and looking forward to diving into a bit deeper. Because again, if you guys, let's just not share our successes, if you guys are sharing your struggles and asking this group, I know that that'll be a great way for all of us to grow. And I definitely know we've got some superstars on this call. I always know it's a great place to start is with Bliss Sawyer. So let's maybe see what Bliss's biggest takeaway so far, especially as a recent attendee of Insane Productivity Live.
Aw, thanks.
How you doing, Bliss?
I'm doing great. Sorry I missed a couple weeks. It's been just a little bit crazy, and but I'm glad I'm on here today. So, I kind of feel like I'm saying the same thing that I've said before, but it's so true. My biggest takeaway has been the 3 vital functions, because I look at my planning for the week and for the day, and it's helping me to put more off to my assistant and my processor. So again, my 3 vital functions are marketing, so networking and marketing combined, pre-qualifications, and credit applications, or loan applications. So once I take a loan application, until we get to closing, because I think closing is a marketing opportunity, I'm trying to step as far away as I can, except for a weekly contact with each borrower and realtor to give them an update. So they get a warm fuzzy from me. So having that defined, I don't know. I've been in this 25 years, and I'm just like want to smack myself upside the head, because I just think of how much easier I could have made my growth trajectory if I had defined this years ago. So that's been huge. My biggest struggle And honestly, you know what? Sometimes, I don't know if I'm ever going to get over this. I multitask. I multitask all the time. And I actually think it must be some kind of an addiction, because if I try not to multitask, I get anxiety and like super tense. So yeah, I got to work on that one.
Hey,
Yeah, I
hey,
think that's a challenge for all of us.
hey, by the way, Liz, I'm with you on that one. I'm the same way. I feel like when I'm not multitasking, I just don't feel as sharp. Although this is one of the things that I'm working on the most, and it's been a huge struggle. I would tell you that I am getting more focus time. I am doing higher quality work, but I still have a long way to go. So
Well, let me give
I
one
feel
tip on that, because I actually have been working on it, and I'm finding ways that work for me, right? Because we're all just a little bit different in our workflow and our energy levels. So, for example, I'm doing a complete revamp of my brand and a new website, and so one of my tasks has been to write the text for the different pages on the website, and to do that at my desk during the day. I don't feel creative at all to be able to push everything aside to do that, because I want to add just a tiny bit of humor into it. I don't want it just to be a plain old website, right? So I need to have quiet time. So last night, it's like 7:30, 8 o'clock, and I've got my laptop, and I'm just literally just sitting in my bed, and just had kind of some music going, and I slammed through almost all of it, and it just flowed, and it was not difficult. But every time I tried to do it at the office during the day, it was difficult, and I couldn't put things on paper that I liked. So anyways, I think it's really, whether it be your jam sessions or whatever your projects might be that you're working on, finding the quiet time away. I know Darren talked about, sometimes he'd be, in his car writing, or, at the coffee shop. We're all different. Just keep experimenting until you find what works for you.
Yeah, I think that's so true, right? So many people think that they should do a jam session in their office, and it's number one, the place you're most likely to be interrupted, and number two, you're right, it's not really a creative space typically. Typically, it's a space that resonates stress for a lot of people, and especially in our business. Dave, are you still with us?
I am still with us, man. Sorry about
All
that.
right.
I was on mute. A little uncomfortable pause, right?
Technology. I was like, okay, wait, am I gone? Wouldn't be the first time that happened to me.
No problem. So, hey, Bliss, come on back in anytime. Any last thoughts before we move on to someone else on the team?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Good. Well, thanks for sharing. So Bliss had a great takeaway so far, the vital three, and a struggle she's still trying to overcome, which is multitasking. Let's see, who should we go to next to, Todd? Any thoughts?
I think we should definitely jump in. I see Mark Thompson ready to rock and roll. It's always good to hear from Mark. How you doing today, Mark?
Good morning. Happy Friday. Thanks for putting me on the spot. Hey, sorry for missing last week, and it's nice to be here. And thank you to you and Dave for keeping this going. It was nice to know that I missed a week for whatever reason, but then I felt for some reason a little naked that I wasn't there and a little guilty, so it's great to be back this morning. So this accountability, I think, is huge. I'm on week 6 and going through this process and just trying to take a look at the values and assessments. I really like this idea of taking a look at the vital 3 functions that Bliss has talked about. That's something I have not done, but I think that would really be helpful for my team. So I'm hoping that that's maybe in Module 7 or coming up soon, where I can kind of get a little bit more information on that. But I guess my biggest challenge is multitasking as well. I'm trying to figure out the time blocking. I'm getting really good, 2 good time blocks in a week, and that's pretty consistent for about an hour each. But I really want to get that up. I love the idea of doing 1 per day for an hour, and then really having that in addition to making my 20 phone calls and 20 conversations per day too. So I'm still working through it all.
I love it that you're tracking tracking some of those vital metrics, that Darren talks about as well. What's your prioritization on your jam session if you're trying to do an hour a day? Are you a morning guy, an afternoon guy? How are you trying to squeeze it in to make sure that it doesn't get deprioritized?
I'm not sure, Todd, I really got an answer for that. I have it scheduled, so I'm taking a look at my schedule and really trying to live by that. My assistant and I are scheduling our appointments around there. We're trying to, if we move out of that, kind of doing the Darren thing, we have to ask permission in order to overschedule or reschedule those times. And I think one of the things that I need to do better of is potentially having those jam sessions, but then I figure I get to those jam sessions and all of a sudden I'm trying to think of, okay, what is it that I'm going to focus on during this jam session? So I think one of the things that I could do potentially is maybe brainstorm some ideas of what I want to accomplish, and then even though I have those time blocks set, is really scheduling the activity for those jam sessions. It sounds so obvious, right? but I struggle with that.
No, you know what? You're totally right. So if you guys missed that, I think that was huge. You said, "Oh, I'm not sure how to answer that," but putting it in your schedule is the first thing, right? Number one is if you don't know when you're going to do it and you haven't planned to do your jam session, it's probably not going to happen. And number two, the other huge one is you've got your team involved as well. They understand that they have to protect your jam sessions for you. And, there's no doubt. I bet there's other folks on this call who go into a jam session going, what am I going to do today? And you're absolutely right. My suggestion, and I'd love to hear Dave or someone else's thought on it, is, right, schedule a session that's just your brain dump, right? What are all the ideas that I've ever had that I've actually been swirling around my brain, get them out on paper so that you can prioritize those for future brain dumps. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
For future jam sessions.
So I have a couple thoughts. This is something I've actually improved a lot on over the past 12 weeks. This was not a new idea because I'd heard Darren talk about it before. And one of the times I saw him live, that was my number one takeaway, was I am going to schedule these jam sessions. While I don't make them for 90 minutes, that's just not my DNA. I do make them for 45 minutes to an hour. That works for me. And I have created in Outlook, they're color-coded. So green's my favorite color. And, I have a green little tag that I put on all my jam sessions. Just putting it in my calendar is exciting to me. It's like there's parts of our job that we really dislike. I don't need to give the list of the things that are part of my job I don't like, but jam sessions are something I really love, because they're usually creative projects. They're the big important things I do in the business. And then I color code it, I put a heading on it, and then I just put in topics, the outcomes that I want to have. And so I put them on my calendar. I color code them. I found that works for me. And then, like I said, they're topical. I try not to put more than 3 things in a jam session, but that's worked for me, and that's something I have improved on over the past 12 weeks. So something to think about. Real quick, folks, I am going to post a poll question when I'm not talking. I will finish this poll question, and I want to know how many jam sessions y'all are doing. So remember, 10 a week, 2 a day is something that Darren proposed. Now, remember, again, Darren is an author. He's a thought leader. He's doing a lot of creative work. We're mortgage professionals. What we do for a living is solve problems. There's only 2 kinds of loans with problems and loans with solved problems. And we communicate for a living. We solve problems and we communicate with our team. We communicate with vendors. We communicate with clients. We communicate with realtors. So our job is different than Darren's. So I don't know what the right number of jam sessions are for a top performing mortgage professional, but I do know this. On this call right now, we have some of the best loan officers in America that are crushing it. So please answer this question: how many are you doing a week? And then I would love to come out of this call with, what do we think, as a complete badass mortgage professional, how many jam sessions should we be doing per week? So Todd, I throw that challenge out to you, and let's try to get it answered before the call's out.
No, I love that. I think that's really key. It's great. Bliss Sawyer just posted into the question section that she actually keeps a spreadsheet of her jam session ideas. And so, I love that. You have to really know. It's going to be a lot easier to do the right number of jam sessions if you know what you're going to talk about. And, you know, again, I'd love feedback from you guys, but what I tend to see as I'm coaching clients, I tend to see clients that are in earlier stages of their business trying to build it, needing to spend a lot of time on systems and ideas. And then I talk to other clients who are veterans, you know, 5, 10, 15 years in the business, and they don't think they need it as much. And ironically, I'll challenge them that they actually probably need it as more. They need to actually dig in, look at ways to expand their business, re-engineer things, because oftentimes they sort of fall into old habits, really, things that they aren't aware of. And so, you know, it's really that step back and take a look in and see what else is it that you can do. And then, you know, it's funny because I was talking to someone last week, a new client, and again, they were looking for ideas. They're a mortgage coach power user. They're not part of this group. And I said, well, I can tell you where you can get all your ideas. Go into the Mortgage Coach website and just look at some of those videos, you know, look at the greats of the Mortgage Coach community. And I promise you, if you listen to 3 to 5 of those recordings of Dave's interviews, you're going to walk away with enough ideas to keep you busy for the next 90 days. And so, you know, there's no doubt there. And I would say probably on average, and that's why I guess I'll be interested to see what you guys say for a number of jam sessions. I see most loan officers really the 2 to 4 hours a week. If you're not doing a minimum of 2 hours a week, I think you're probably gonna risk being stagnant. 4 hours is a challenge. You know, that's always been my number when I was a producer, and now that number is high. I think I mentioned it before. I'm in the middle of an accountability challenge coming out of the Building Champions experience, and I committed to my most heroic amount of hours ever. I'm crushing it with 10 hours a week right now. So, and that's super hard. I won't say that it's been easy. I have to get it done by Sunday, and I normally don't work weekends, but the first couple weeks I was up on Sunday night past my bedtime doing a jam session to make sure that I hit my commitment. So I think that's a interesting thing. So let's see how you guys do. If everyone wants to take 1 second and multitask and take a peek at Dave's survey on Facebook, that'd be great.
Yeah, so 2 thoughts, guys. Remember, please, sometime over the next, 15, 20 minutes, try to answer this question. Todd and I will net out the call at the end with feedback that we get during the call and how this survey is answered. Also, Todd did shine a light on the Mortgage Coach YouTube page. I do want to make sure everyone is aware that we have playlists, and we have a list called All Time. You know, All Time stands for All Time Best. And some of them are authors and speakers. Some of them are top performing mortgage professionals. But, and by the way, if everyone wants to know how did I pick them as all-time best, I just made a gut call. When something blew my mind with value, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that was one of the best all-time calls, it's in here. But out of over 700 interviews that I've done, there's 20. So there's some really special content. And to Todd's point, there's always value tailored to you as a mortgage professional here in Mortgage Coach Land. So Michelle Town, I have not heard your voice for a long time. It's good to have you in here. Michelle is one of the best loan officers in the country. Michelle, are you unmuted and ready to get put on the spot?
I'm unmuted and ready to get put on the spot.
Right on. So hey, it's good to have you. How are you doing on your jam sessions?
My jam sessions are actually going very well. I actually tried a little bit too hard and tried to schedule a jam session a day, and that just didn't work out. I was constantly missing the mark. So I'm down to just, I have my power hour, I call it my power hour. My power hour on Monday mornings it's actually a power hour and a half, so 8 a.m. to 9:30. Nobody can talk to me. I do it again on Wednesdays, and then I try to do one on Fridays after this call. Just depends on if it's close to the end of the month or not. So they've been doing great. I have some great things that are about to happen to my team and my group here in January 1st, and very excited. I'm going to be joining groups, kind of building a massive team here, joining groups with another high-end loan officer, and it looks like we're going to probably create a $225 million branch. So super excited and a little nervous.
Boom. So by the way, just to put context for those of you that don't know Michelle, I have interviewed her, so she is one of the Mortgage Coach interviews. Michelle, how much production are you doing, just so folks can get a feel for just how how many problems you're solving and how many families you're helping?
So I am on track right now. I'm at 87. I think I just hit 87 million yesterday at 180 units, and my goal for this year was 100 million with 200 units. And it looks like I'm doing a last pitch to get a couple more in, but with what I have locked in, and right now it looks like we'll hit that goal. So my team is super excited.
Okay, so killing it in every way. What do you think is the number of jam sessions you really want to set for yourself, per week? What is the goal for you?
Well, I think I definitely need 3 because one of the days it's strictly about marketing. Monday is just one of those days where I've just got to reset for the week, figure out what I'm going to do. I don't do that on Fridays anymore. I used to, but what happened is over the weekend my plans got changed, and I am a creature of habit. So when I make plans and then they have to change, my adaptability is not the greatest. I wish it was better, but I don't like getting out of focus. So I focus on Monday for the rest of the week. That Monday day is probably the most important jam session that I have for me. And then the Wednesday one is super important because that's more about realtors. Monday's my project, what I want to do, the vision that I have for the team. And we've also implemented the questions that you put up, Dave, on the value propositions. I actually introduced that to my team, and each of them are working on it as we are going to create a group team vision for us for next year. And I want each of my team members, their word to be incorporated in our vision statement. So they're very excited.
Oh, I love that. So you got to share that with the team when you get your vision statement. Having you go through this session, go through that project, and then have something that everybody on your team authors. You got to promise to post that and share that. Is that a deal?
For sure. Absolutely.
Right on. I can't wait to see that for myself. So one thing I know 3 is not enough. I think to really be strategic, it's more than 5. I know we have someone from Darren's team on the call, and Julie, don't worry, I'm not going to call on you. But I would love to have Darren, if you could pass on to Darren that 20 jam sessions a week just seems like too many, given that we're not thought workers. Our full-time job is communicating and solving problems. And so we're just feeling like 20 is too many, 2 a day, or 10 is too many. Sorry, I don't know where I got 20. 10 a week, 2 a day. But what is the right number? So, Julie, if you could maybe get from Darren, knowing the kind of space we're in, what's his take on it? And then, Todd, I'm going to let you throw something at this, but real quick before you leave, Michelle, and feel free to ask more questions or share anything. But what is the biggest struggle? What is the thing that you know it's important, you've learned it, but you're still just struggling with it? Big struggle.
So my big struggle, and I am going to use the Darren Daily from this morning about that negative thinking, and it's so funny what he had said on it was that your brain is the implementer. So if you put a negative thought out there, it's your brain's job to implement that thought. So I constantly battle when something doesn't go the way that I want it to go. I constantly battle with failure and that word of failure. And I'm working on eliminating that completely out of my vocabulary because I don't look at anything as a failure, or I try not to. A great example this week was, or last week was really tough for me. I had to let a very key person go. And it was a struggle for the reasons that I had to do it. And I feel, I can tell you right now, I know that on the horizon I'm going to feel better about it. But I'm struggling now with when I had to let that person go was to make the changes to fill that spot. And what you never realize what somebody does until they're not there. And so that for me right now is my biggest struggle, is understanding that I made the right choice for the team, but personally I still feel awful because, again, my word is a believer. I believe in everybody. So I'm constantly battling that for me right now personally. I hope that's what you wanted.
Hey, I want whatever is in your heart, and I feel you. I'm a believer too, and you had to give up on someone, but you had to do it for the greater good of your team and your clients, and that is not easy in any way, shape, or form. So, congrats on making it happen. But my condolences, because I do know how hard it is. That's always been one of the hardest things for me. And when I look at my success, well, I've had success in business. I look at things that have held me back, and sometimes not managing things quick enough when it comes to the people. So kudos to you, and thanks for sharing and being so vulnerable. Anything else, Michelle?
No, I will tell you, I can tell you that this group and the Darren Hardy and the Sales Mastery event that I did, the Mortgage Coach, everything is implemented into almost every part of my life. There's a piece, I take a piece of everything with me, and I implement it personally as well. And I'm just very thankful. I'm in a very good place of gratitude right now. And so I just want to thank everybody for sharing, because I literally, even though I'm quiet sometimes, I do take a lot from I take a piece of everything. I hear something every time on this call that I go, man, that's what I need to do. Or thank God I'm not the only one.
Awesome. Well, hey, one last favor, and then again, if something else comes to mind, raise your hand. Todd and I will always let someone who's raised their hand go first, but we'll call on people in the meantime. And Todd, I'm going to have you call on someone in a minute. But Michelle, I really want to crush this weekly reminder. And so if you could just take a look at it, I'm trying to organize it so that the top 12 are the most important. Right now we've got a list of 20, and I'm planning to just lean it up. So I know how much you've invested in this program and how successful you are and how intentional you are. So if you wouldn't mind just looking at this and letting me know what your thoughts are at some point. You cool with that?
I will make a commitment to finish that this weekend for you.
I'm grateful. Thank you. All right, so Todd, I pass the mic to you.
You pass it over.
I pass it over.
I'd love to, a few things. First off, congratulations to Michelle for being on track for such a great year. I always appreciate your contribution. But, there's a couple things that Michelle said that I'd like to bring back to the rest of you. I loved it when she said that she always tries to do a jam session coming out of this call. I would tell you that there's no better time than after this call when you've got ideas. Michelle just said it, right? She just loves it that we all have great ideas and that we're all commiserating with some of the same struggles. That's a perfect time if you just keep your head down and spend the next hour brainstorming off of this call what you can do. I love that. I love it that she's taking what she's learning in Insane Productivity and implementing it with her team. I think that's really huge. And then I got to imagine by now all of you have signed up for Darren Daily. If you haven't, just go to darrendaily.com. It's truly a breath of fresh air every day, and really just one way to keep Darren's thought power front and center every weekday. And so I would definitely encourage you to sign up for that if you haven't. It's just definitely a huge opportunity and a missed opportunity if you're not doing it. So it's it's a great way, and love that Michelle brought that up. I think that's something good for all of us to listen to. I always feel like we've got to bring in some new voices into this group, and I see a good friend, Bobby Moody, on the call. I'd love to hear from you, Bobby, and hear how you're doing.
So Bobby, we're going to
You're gonna unmute me. I'm always technically challenged. Can you hear me?
We can.
Yes, we can. How are you, Bobby?
I'm good, actually. I've been doing pretty good with my jam sessions. The great thing that I learned from this process is what is a jam session? What is on time? What is, I call it in the weeds, which is in your business. What is on time? And then what is growth? I kind of feel a little embarrassed to say this, but I really didn't understand what on time was or jam sessions. And so now they're much more productive to me because I actually list out the things I want to get done during that time. Because I used to actually schedule on time and say, well, what am I supposed to do at this time? And they have become so much more important to me, and they've become so much more productive to me, because now I understand, what am I really supposed to be doing with this hour I do every day? So I've gotten just a slew of things on my to-do list done just because of the jam sessions.
Love that. Love that. What about struggles? Are you finding some stuff that you're struggling with?
Yes, consistency with my calendar. So one of the things I found in another group, the Miracle Morning, I found this paper planner. It's called the Passion Planner. And because I like to write out I call them success lists. I like to write out my success lists. It helps me visualize what I need to get done every day. And I have them on weird random pieces of paper all over the place. And so it's a big planner, but it has a place for my personal success list, and then my business success list has a place for me to write my gratitudes every day. And then it has a monthly calendar and then a weekly calendar. So I just started it, but because I have a morning recap and then an evening recap, so I can kind of keep myself on track. Otherwise, I go all over the place. So I'm writing everything out and then calendaring the things I need to be reminded to do, and then checking it every day. How did I do on my success list, and what needs to be carried over? Like, I still haven't called Comcast. So that's my struggle. Getting it over.
Well, no, I love that. And who wants to call Comcast? It's not exciting to any of us.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But this has been really great for me. I just want to say how much I really appreciate it.
Awesome.
Well, Bobby, it's awesome to have you on this call. Thanks for sharing. I did put you back on mute. We were getting some feedback on your side. We could hear you perfectly, and thank you so much for sharing. I want to remind folks, you can raise your hand. So if you have something that you want to say, whether it's a takeaway that you gained, a challenge that you're having, a question that you want addressed by myself and Todd, or by the broader audience. Like I said, we've got some of the best mortgage professionals in the country on this call to answer your questions as you're going through Insane Productivity Program. So I want to remind folks, I know how many are on the call. I know how many have answered this question. So one, I'm not going to give you a hard time for not multitasking, but I would so love to net out a best practice. You know, how many jam sessions should a top performing mortgage professional have per week? 10 might be too many. 3 is probably not enough. What is just right? I'd love to come up with some best practices. We will have Darren weigh in on this, whether he does it directly in a post or whether he does it through me. I will come back to next week's call with some clarity on, guys, this is the goal. This is how many you should have, and this is why you should have this many. So I am going to call on, it's my turn. By the way, Todd, in case you haven't figured out, we're going back and forth, so you're next. But I'm going to call on Ryan Keeper. Ryan Keeper is an awesome branch manager with Prime Lending. I've interviewed Brian a few times. He's created a lot of great content for the Mortgage Coach community. So Ryan, what's up, brother? Well, it looks like Ryan doesn't know how to use his technology. So Ryan, I hope you can hear me making fun of you. I'll give you one more chance. Ryan. All right, so if anybody knows, so Ryan, if you come back and you just can't unmute, let us know. Todd, I get one more chance, right? Let's call on Nicole Francis. Nicole, how are you doing?
Hi, good morning. Doing well. Thanks for the call, you guys. It's always great to hear, you know, what people like Michelle have to say. You know, for me, the jam session and creating awareness about all those things that I really need to do to fine-tune and to tweak on the business has been really helpful. So I have I got one a day on my calendar. I missed him yesterday. So part of this awareness is just getting out of bad habits and how, that's it's really tough when you're, used to working one way for 10 to 15 years. It's hard to stop and break that, but I found like these things that were just looming, like I knew I wanted to get some just regular processing emails for my TC put together. We spent a half an hour tweaking on them. I wrote these like, I don't know, 6 months ago, and I had just been putting off, getting them fine-tuned and getting them ready so that this would enhance her business. And so by carving out the time to just, work on those very specific things is liberating in a way. So I'm trying. I've got some bad habits that I need to break, and they're hard.
I hear you. I hear you. So
what was that?
If you had one big challenge.
Okay, so for me, like the biggest thing that I see is like a time waster is like checking email too often. So that's my big bad habit that I'm trying to break. So I put an autoresponder on my email that said I would, be responding twice a day. And, I'm struggling with that. I did well one day, didn't do so well the next. And, part of this has to do with the nature of our business. But I did have a new client that was referred into me who was an attorney, and I asked her, I just said, did that how did that come off? How does it feel being somebody on the other end? And she, was very respectful and said that was a habit that she wishes that she could adopt. So maybe it'll be infectious and change other people's lives too. We'll see. So it's a work in progress, but I'd say email is my biggest one.
Got it. So just being a little addicted to your inbox. So by the way, Nicole, I had to put you back on mute. Do want to remind folks when you're using the GoToMeeting control panel, there's in the audio section there's an audio and phone. So like if you could have two speakers going. But Nicole, we heard everything you said. Thanks for sharing. It was great. Do want to put a spotlight on the Facebook page. Julie on Darren's team, and Julie, thank you for taking the time to come into our community and engage, add value. She's been listening into the call, and she's going to get with Darren, kind of bring the conversation that we're having in and get his take on it. I mean, my take, I like what Michelle just said. She just said, I think 5 to 7 jam sessions. And the way I think of it is, I think 5 if you're busy, you're in transaction mode, in firefighting hat, 5 in a week would still be a great balance of being strategic and on time. And I think, if you could do 7 or 8, then you were just being super strategic. So I'm leaning with you, Michelle. 5 to 10 is the number. We'll see what Darren has to say. Todd, I pass the baton to you, my friend.
Well, it's funny because I was realizing, too, one of the things I forgot to mention when we were talking earlier about what do you do during on-time. For me, I keep an on-time folder on my desk. And so as I have things that come up that I want to work on, I just throw it into that on-time folder. And then there was times where I had projects where I literally had an on-time backpack. I mean, it was sitting in my car, and that's what I drove around, and it was full of all the paperwork. I'm a notebook guy, so I'll just take whatever it is I collect. I'll 3-hole punch it, and I'll stick it in a notebook, and then I'll work on that. So again, for some of you who are out there, I love that Melissa used a spreadsheet. I mean, whatever it takes for you to have that at your fingertips, so that when it's time for a jam session, you don't get distracted or lost. I'd love to hear from Kara. She says she's doing one 90-minute jam session a day as a goal, which I think is huge, right? I mean, part of it is you have not only do you have frequency of jam sessions, you also have duration, right? So somebody who's doing 10 30-minute jam sessions versus somebody who's doing 5 one-hour jam sessions. Obviously, 10 jam sessions sounds amazing. However, it's obviously the same duration as someone doing less. So I think 90 minutes 5 days a week is huge. How's that going, Tara? What are some strategies you're using to be successful there?
Well, I kind of got off the rails a little bit this week. I got called to jury duty on Monday, and so I'm trying to kind of get back on track. I've probably been doing 2 to 3 pretty consistently One of the struggles I'm having with getting mine in every day is, figuring out what is acceptable to move that and what's not acceptable. I want to be, I want to be able to go to my closings and be available to my clients but still get that done. So that's something I'm kind of playing around with, and how to move those around. And then, so I guess for me particularly this week, I guess the question I would throw out to everybody is, what do you do when you get off track? How do you get back on and minimize the damage from that?
Yeah, that's so huge, especially jury duty. It's not like you had a fun distraction. But you did your civic duty, so thank you for that. We appreciate it. At least you didn't get called to the jury, apparently. That's always helpful as well, or at least a long one.
I didn't get picked, which is good.
So as far as your 5 a week, I mean, in a good week, are you nailing all 5, or is 5 a goal, but you're hitting 3 or 4? What does that look like for you?
I probably haven't consistently hit my 5. I'm probably regularly getting 3 in. One of my challenges, or one of my really bad habits, is jumping into the middle of the file, volunteering myself for something that really I don't need to be doing. So I'm trying to be cognizant of that. So I haven't got consistently to that 5 a week, but I'm pretty steady with probably 3. So I'm just trying to, step that up an inch. So.
That's great. Do you mind if I ask what module you're currently in?
I just finished 6.
Awesome. I think 10 is the vital few, and I think when you get there, just like Bliss said, once you know that your vital few is not working on file, and you make that a non-negotiable, then that gives yourself permission to allow everyone else to focus on their vital few. I think that'll be helpful. Do you have a script, so when someone calls you and you've got a jam session scheduled for 9 to 10 today, and you get a client who calls you and says, hey, I'd love to, or let's say it's for 9 to 10 next Tuesday, and the client says, hey, I'd love to meet with you at 9 next Tuesday. Do you have a script that says, I've got another commitment at that time, or you're okay moving that?
For meeting a client face to face, say a pre-approval, I will I won't move it. The one I'm moving them for closings, because I like to go, that's one of my goals, to go to all of my closings, or as many of them as I possibly can. I just turn my phone off. I turn my email off. I turn my phone off, and I just set my timer and kind of do everything on paper, so I don't get sucked into the email or text or any of those kind of things. So I have to shut everything down completely, or else I'll get distracted with other stuff. So that's what I do for those, to kind of keep my focus for that 90 minutes. For me, I find 90 minutes I can do that. And it's easier for me to just block out one single time in a day rather than maybe try to do 2 45 minutes or 2 hours. I just got to get it all done and out of the way.
Get it cranked well, and I love that. I think other people are probably thinking the same thing when they get into a jam session and your phone is on and it rings. I think it's super hard for a lot of us to ignore it, or if we get a text message, it's super hard to ignore that. So, kudos to you for actually shutting everything down, right? As Darren says, you kind of got to go in airplane mode. I always laugh every time I get on an airplane. If I feel guilty because Darren says, well, who would ever buy that go-go internet on a plane? And, I'll raise my hand and say it. Oftentimes I do, and I do use the plane oftentimes for jam sessions, but I did cancel my subscription recently to GoGo, so I'm feeling a little bit better about that. Something tells me with all Dave's travel, he's a GoGo internet guy. So I don't know what other struggles would be helpful for the group to help you with, or successes have you had that would be great to share?
Well, like I said, this week in particular, I kind of got off the rails. I was called to jury duty for the whole week, and I didn't know if I was going to have to go for a day or 3 days, so I had a really hard time kind of planning my week, and that kind of messed me up in the head a little bit. So if anybody has any tips on how to kind of regroup quickly, I would appreciate that. One thing I have, I think we all struggle with the multitasking in this business, but the less I do it, the more I realize how it interrupts your thought process. So now when I catch myself multitasking, it's an annoyance. I don't I'm losing the addiction to the multitasking, and I'm really excited about that because I can see it for what it is. It's not productive. It's actually a hindrance to what we're doing, and it makes us miss things, and so I'm really excited about that. I'm finally getting over that.
That is.
Did you think you were good at multitasking before?
I think no, I don't know that I thought I was good at it. I think I just felt like that's how we operate in this business. We ping from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, and I felt like to be successful, you just had to be able to manage that. And I've learned that that's not the way to be productive.
I think that's awesome. I love the fact that as you're growing, as you're multitasking less, you're thriving more. Because I do think when I ask someone that question, oftentimes people go, of course I'm a great multitasker. And, I agree with Darren. I don't think any of us are. Although I think Dave's a pretty good multitasker, right, Dave?
I don't know about that. I would say that has been something that the clarity that multitasking is not your most productive time. This program has made that crystal clear, and I think that was a big takeaway I just heard. Just your clarity and your belief that multitasking is not the most efficient way. But do I still have to struggle with that? Do I still multitask? Yes. Do I think I'm pretty good at it when I do it? I do think I'm pretty good at it when I do it. I can juggle a few more balls than the average human being. But I don't know if I should brag about that. But something we're always working on. So real quick, Tara, you've been awesome. I want to kind of start throwing some fastballs, and I'm going to throw the first one to you. We're at 8 minutes until the top of the hour. I want to try to get from a few folks, when you think of the reminders, and I'm showing the list on my screen right now, so for anyone who stopped looking at the screen, now's a good time to look at it. Which of these reminders, and again, I've got 20, and by the way, if folks want to click on it, if you go to the very top of our Insane Productivity Facebook group, there's actually a link to this document. So it's a Google document, it's live, you can click on it from our Facebook page, and I ask you that you do. But Tara, what are the couple that you just think, and I'm going to try to rapid pace, 30 seconds, what are the 2 or 3 that you think are most important to have on this list?
Let's see, I would go with number 2. Have you focus on your goals for the day or the week? I think that's something that I
essential.
need to.
Okay.
Yeah, I get distracted on that kind of stuff probably. And then I just finished module 6, so one that's standing out is have you made your decisions based on your values?
Is that one here, or is that, I'm trying to look and see, have you made your, I know I have that.
Number 6, I think that is.
Number 6, got it. Okay, beautiful. So those are 2. So I'm going to remute you, Tara. If you do have another question or want to comment, raise your hand. Sound good?
Sounds good, thank you.
Yep. So rapid fire, folks. Mark Thompson, 1 or 2 that you think are just, they need to be on this list. What do you think, Mark?
This is the first time I've seen this list, so the first thing that I think of is the smart morning or the morning ritual or the miracle morning.
If you could call out the number when you say that, just so I don't have to listen.
It's the first time I'm seeing this. So did you end your day right and weekly? Did you do the jam sessions? Are you better than yesterday?
Well, we'll leave it at that. So the miracle morning, I think we could probably, this one right here is the miracle morning, number 1. But maybe I'll even label it miracle morning.
Yes, I think that's the big thing. And then I tend to agree with number 2. Have you reviewed your big 3 goals for today? Did you accomplish what you needed to do today? Okay. That's what I'm seeing.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate that, buddy. Let's see. Even though I'm going to call, let me see who I'm going to call next. Michelle, even though I've called you already, I want to make sure I get your voice on this. And I know you're going to give me more before the weekend's out, but what are the 1 or 2 that you just think are most essential, Michelle?
Number 7 is most essential for the people around me because they're the key to my success. And I would say the next one would be number 2. Did you do your big goals, and did you achieve them? Because if you don't stay in check with yourself, you're going to get off track real quick.
Love it. Thank you, Michelle. You're still not off for a little more thought on this before the weekend's out, by the way.
Darn it. Okay. Oh, you're already on my calendar for Saturday afternoon.
All right. Hey, really appreciate it. And I'm going to throw it to you, Todd, for a few fastballs. Let's try to get a few more voices on what are the most essential items on our list.
You know, I see Troy Root down there at the very bottom of our, in alphabetical order on our attendee list. So let's, haven't heard from Troy today. What are you thinking, Troy?
You know, I'm thinking number 12. I think it's a huge one for me. And then I would agree with number 2 and number 7 also myself.
Awesome. Awesome. Love all those. But yes, you definitely get in life what you tolerate, that's for sure. How about, let me look for some new names. How about Lorraine Rodriguez? Let's unmute Lorraine, see what she thinks.
Morning. Yeah, listening to everyone's review here, I really believe that looking at your goals on a daily basis helps us stay focused and on track. It's a big, your why. Number 2.
Got it. If you had one other, is there anything that we haven't bolded yet? As you can see, I've got a few things that have been bolded. I'm going to actually move those to the top. But is there anything that hasn't been bolded that you just feel is essential? So we've got 5 bolded items that I agree with, other people agree with. Let's focus on the ones underneath that. Anything else come to mind, Lauren?
I think breaking the habit. I'd love to see somebody give us some kind of a strategy or something where, I don't know, I mean, we have apps for everything, right? So we get into this habit and you try to do well for the week and then you fall off. It's tough.
All right, so that's not one of the items, but that's a question you have, right?
Right.
Okay, I love it. And I don't think we're going to be able to get to it in the last 3 minutes here, and I'm not even going to try, but I will come to the next call prepared to answer that in more detail. How's that sound?
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. That's a good one. Let's try to get a couple more. Todd, a couple more folks to give us feedback, and we've got a new question to start next week's call.
Yeah, I love it. How about Aaron Johnson right at the top of the list?
Aaron, you have been unmuted.
What's that? Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
All right. Mine is really focusing on achieving my prospecting goals every week. It's too easy to get distracted sometimes. So that is really where I'm focusing right now. You know, everything else here is just awesome. There's been some great stuff. I think I just finished week 8 and the 3 priorities or 3 vital functions for the day or the week. And, you know, prospecting's right there at my top of my list.
Love it, my friend.
All right, Dave, we got 1 minute left. 1 minute left. I would definitely, you know, I love it. Are you better today than you were yesterday, and can you prove it? And the reason I love that is because, you know, Darren says that, you know, right up front in this program, right? You're going to hear things you've heard before. You know, how many seminars have you been to and not implemented? How many programs have you bought and not listened to? And, you know, do your results prove, you know, that you're implementing this stuff? Does your bank account prove you're implementing this stuff? So, you know, I think that was another great call. I think you did an awesome job, Mr. Savage, of leading us through great conversation. I would also say, you know, I know we've got a lot of you right around 6 seems to be the average, right? And so there's some great homework around 6 and 7, around goals, around designing your life. And I would love us to also soak up some conversation around that next week. I'd love it also to see some more people like Jim did last week. Go ahead and post up some of those results of what you're working on. And when Darren's asking you to write something down, I'd love to see some more of that in the Facebook group get some more chatter going in there. Don't be shy. I know many people don't want to share their personal stuff on there, but I promise you it helps the rest of us grow, and you'll get great feedback as well, especially if you've got questions. Any other final thoughts, Dave, before we let everyone go on with their day?
Yeah, no, hey, fantastic call. Thank you for all the participation. Thank you for being so transparent when you jump on these calls. I'm grateful for everybody and your participation. Looking forward to next week. We've got 7 great reminders. Now we only need about 4 more. So, Michelle, I'm looking forward to your thoughts on what you think those are. And anyone else, I want to build out a list of 12, and then we're going to hand this off to our design team. We're going to make it pretty. We're going to make it something that you can have on your work area, and it's a gift that will help you stay on track in the weeks and days to come. So, been a fantastic call. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend. Do remember to come back. You can click and go to the item here. I would still love people to tell us how many jam sessions you're having, so that will be another, we'll establish a best practice for the mortgage industry. And the first topic next week will be, hey, I've got some bad habits, we all do, and we'll give you some ideas to break them and some ideas to get back on track once you fall off the track. Have an awesome weekend, everybody.
All right, thanks, guys.